Hey, it's Steph. Thanks for watching today's video. I have my first update to my No Pan Left Behind this year. I made a goal for 2025 to use every single one of my eyeshadows. That is what we call No Pan Left Behind in the panning community. If you're not familiar with my channel, I do mostly panning content, but I do throw in some get ready with me's or palette bingos every now and then. If that sounds good to you, I hope you subscribe before you leave. I will have an update for my 2025 goals coming up after this video, but I thought I should do my No Pan Left Behind update first because one of my goals in that goals video is my No Pan Left Behind. So I felt like I should give you an update first. And I do have quite a few palettes here, so let me just get into it. I did my best to put these in alphabetical order, so hopefully they are. I do have a spreadsheet in Google Docs that I keep track of, or I guess it's Google Sheets. It's like an Excel dupe, but anyway, I'm going on a tangent. I'm going to stop myself. I keep track of my No Pan Left Behind by color coding each month. So you will see my different colors. Red is January, yellow is February, and green is March. So we are going to talk about each palette that I used in those months alphabetically. So the first one is from Ace Beauté. This is the Violet Sage palette, and I've used about half the shades in here. You will see in my little screenshot that I have a number at the end of each palette that just says how many different eyeshadows are in each palette. So this is what this palette's looking like, and you can see that I have used these pinks here. So I basically have the colorful shades to use left. I will be making a point to use these in the spring and summer. So I think I will hit my No Pan Left Behind no problem. The next palette is from Alter Ego. It is my Coastal palette, and I've only used 3 shades out of here, and because I use them in collab videos. So you will see in the photo I've used these 2 shades here and this bottom warm shade. Yeah, I feel like this palette can be used any time of the year, so I will try to focus on maybe the more colorful eyeshadow palettes that I have in the spring and summer, and I don't know, who knows, this might be rolled into a project, this might be used in another collab. I really don't know what my plans are because I can't really plan, but I'm trying to focus on more colorful eyeshadows right now, which you can't really tell by my neutral look, but I'm wearing shades from my Pan Those Eyeshadows project today. Oh, by the way, please don't mind these marks. If you're a mom, especially a toddler mom or have been a toddler mom in the past, you might know my struggle. He's very like hands-on, you know, he just loves touching me. Moving on to the next palette is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. This is my Pan That palette this year. So you will see, oh, I guess I should mention the yellow marks for these is because I used both of these in February. So I used my Pan That palette, of course. I used all the shades right in January, right at the top of the year. And so if you're familiar with my Pan That palette, you just saw this about a week ago, but here's what my palette is looking like. I think I am going to try to hit pan in these 2 remaining shades in the summer, hopefully. I'm avoiding it. I will admit I'm avoiding my Pan That palette, and it's kind of sad. Okay, next is my Beauty Bay Metamorphic palette. This one opens up kind of funky, so I've only used 1 shade in this palette. Sorry, it's going to be reflective. And it is this shade down here in the corner because it was my brow shade. I wonder if I do this, it'll be less reflective. No. Yeah, this bottom shade here was my brow shade, and that's why I used it, but I have not touched any of the other shades in there yet. So I use that shade in February. Next is actually I think my newest eyeshadow palette. I got this for Valentine's Day. It's my Beauty Bay Longing palette, and I'm actually so happy to have actually used some of the shades already in my newest palette. So I did a Instagram collab with my friend Kourtney. I will have her linked down below, but we decided to do like a purple and green look with this palette. So I use this whole column, and then this top shade here. So you can see what the palette is looking like. Yeah, this is a gorgeous palette. I'm so happy to have it. And then the next palette is also Blend Bunny. This is the Sugar and Grunge palette, and I have this shade in a project. It's the shade Teen Spirit here. So I also used that in February, but I have not used any of the other colors. I will need to use this in the summer more than likely. I'll try to roll it into a project maybe. But if not, I have been trying to like organically use some of these as well, pairing them with things that are in projects. The next handful are from ColourPop, and the first one is my Mint to Be palette. I had a shade in here in Pan Those Eyeshadows, so I have used every single one of these shades, most of them in January, but then a 2 in February. I decluttered this shade because it was one of their like mattes with glitter, and I don't want to deal with that. I did think about trying to find all of the looks that I've used with each of these and posting them as I talk about it, but that just sounded like so much work. And if you follow my projects and my videos and my Instagram, you've seen all the looks already, and I tell you like what I use with them. So let me know if you would like that in future updates, but I just can't do that for this one. I will have to plan ahead, way more ahead, if I want to do that. But the next ColourPop palette is of course, this is one of my favorite palettes. I just used this in my recent video. It's a collab video with my friends DW and Kaylin from Makeup Lens. Well, DW is Dub's Beauty Diary and K is Makeup Lens. We did a video on the items that we would buy immediately if we lost our entire makeup collection, and I did kind of like a get ready style, and I used this palette in that video. So I have used all of these shades except for this center shade and this deep shimmer. So I'll probably use this more in like the fall or winter time, so this might not get any more like progress until then. Of course, I might use all the other shades, but this shade is going to give me a little hard time, but I use all those in March. The next ColourPop is Sweet As Can Be. This is currently in my deck of panning, I'm pretty sure, and I have used over half of the shades, and I used them all in one look in March, but I did use all 4 of these shades down here, and then these 2 greens, and I think the look is good. I'm probably going to be decluttering this, which is so sad, just because the packaging is adorable, but like the color, I do not enjoy using this. I'm still thinking about it, but I have most of my pans used for this project. And then the next ColourPop is That's Taupe. This is one of my original palettes and one of my favorites, and I have used 3 in here in January. I had these 2 as like expand the pan shades, and then I had this one in a project in my Pan Those Eyeshadows to hit pan, You can see I did. And I have quite a few more shades to use in this palette, but just like the Coastal palette, like this is, I can use this any time of year, so I might focus on using some of my more colorful eyeshadows and then reach for this whenever. And then my last ColourPop palette in here is my Mandalorian palette, and I've only used one shade because this is very like a fall or winter palette for me, but I use this lower shade here as my eyebrow shade, and I did hit pan, which is very exciting. So that was my first eyebrow shadow pan this year in January. So moving on to a palette from Cosmic Beauty, the Winter Wonderland palette. This is in my Project Panoply project pan, and I've used all but 4 shadows in here as of today. Bittersweet, but I am decluttering this to my friend Kay. She will get so much more use out of this and just appreciate it a lot more than I. This is definitely like a fantasy self palette, so once I use the rest of those 4 shadows, I'm sending it to her, and she's gonna have so much fun with this. So much fun. Next is this little bite-size palette from e.l.f. I have the Cream and Sugar palette, and I use all of these in March. Very easy everyday palette. I had this in a project, and I actually have double pan in this shade here. You can see, sorry my nails are gross, but that's kind of fun. Next is my Half Cake Pretty Precious palette. This is currently in my Pan Those eyeshadows, and it has been in my Pan Those eyeshadows, so I have actually used all of the shades in here. Reminder, the yellow squares are February and the March squares are green. So I'm still working on this. I did hit pan in this lid setting shade. I had this as Expand Those Pans, and I'm currently working on this shade for my eyebrows. You can see a nice little dent there. But I did complete No Pan Left Behind. Next is my Juvia's Place Garden of Juvia's. This is a beautiful pastel, colorful palette that I will definitely get use out of coming spring and summer. And I have used every shade except 4 in this palette, so you will see that on the screen as well. I just have these 3 to use, and then this, no wait, this one. Is that right? Oh yeah, this one, that'll be easy. So I'll just use this one whenever I use the other ones. But yeah, I really enjoy this palette. Only 4 more to go with that. Okay, next are my 2 Kaleidos palettes, the first one being Astro Pink. And I have used 3 out of the 6, so I'm halfway there. I still need to use this one and the last 2. So I did complete those 3 in January. And then my Kaleidos Lunar Lavender, I have used 4 out of 6. So I've used all 4 purple shades. This is like a blue purple. So I still need to use the 2 browns. I don't really understand the browns in this palette, but it's whatever. Let me scooch these palettes closer to me. Next is my Lorac Pro Noir palette. This is currently in my Pan Those eyeshadows, but I haven't really gotten much use out of them since my last update, so there's no spoilers, but I am wearing one of these shades on my lids today. I have used this in a challenge. What was it? The Dynamic Duos with Amy from Beauty and Beyond. So I do have some use on this. This is the shade that's in my Panlos eyeshadows. And then I also have this as my lid setting shade currently. So I have used these three on the end, these two here, these two, and the dark black. I feel like I'm pretty close. I feel like I'm only 2 or 3 uses away from hitting pan on that deep slate blue shimmer. Like I said, I have it on my eyes today in the outer like half of my lid. I really enjoy that shade. But I feel like, I don't know, that palette is kind of on the chopping block for me because I don't really need it. Who needs anything? Am I right? Next is my Marc Jacobs Terrific palette. I've actually decluttered like half of this palette, so I only have 3 shades left, and I used this shade here in January. It was my original lid setting shade. There we go. And of course you can see a pan. I might just declutter this palette. It's kind of falling apart. I love the packaging. It's so cute. But yeah, I don't know if it's worth it just to keep it for the packaging. But I have 2 more shades to use in here if I'm going to keep it around. Next is just this little single, just alphabetically. Natasha Denona single eyeshadow in the shade Flutter. And this is what it's looking like. I have this in a project. Is it currently in a project? I don't know. I used it in March. And then I forgot to grab my singles, but I did use all of my Natasha Denona's depotted singles. These are from my Blue Purple palette that I depotted, and I have 9 shades remaining. And I used most of them in February, but I did use 1 in January and then 3 in March. So I will have a picture of that on the screen as well. I can't show you them right now because I actually reorganized my single eyeshadows. I used to have them by brand, which is how I keep track of them in my spreadsheet, but I just recently like reorganized them by color. So now they're all mixed together. Like I have Sydney Grace single eyeshadows, Pretty for Your Face single eyeshadows, and then those depotted Natasha Denona ones. They're all mixed together, so I didn't want to pull them out. Next is my Nomad Ghost Town USA palette, and I also use this in a collab video with Kaylin and DW. So I've just used 2 of the shades in here. These 2 down here. This is definitely like a fall winter palette for me, so we might not see this again in No Pan Left Behind until later in the year, unless of course it's rolled into a project, which I could. Like, there's no limits for my projects. Next is Odin's Eye. The first palette I have is Flora Story. This is in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. And I've used over half of these shades, which is amazing. I had this in my Throwback 30 project pan. So I've used basically, you'll see it on the screen, all of the uses were in January. So I still need to use this shade, and then these 2. Yeah, that's right. I was like, I know I used a green shimmer, but I used this green shimmer, so I still need to use these 2. I could have done that in March. The other Odin's Eye, my palettes are falling. The other Odin's Eye palette I have is Jules and Gem, and I have completed my No Pan Left Behind. I had this in a project for No Pan Left Behind, so I had to do it. Most of them were hit in February, as you can see, and then some were in January. I'm currently working on this shade here in my Pan Those eyeshadows. I have been putting this on my lower lash line, which I have on today. It's going to be hard to see. Kind of translates brown on me, honestly, if I don't really like pack it on. So it's pretty easy to incorporate into any look, just as a brown. Next brand is Profusion, and I have the Harvest palette. Shockingly, I have used this in February, but it's because I used the greens for, no, March, not February, March, because St. Patrick's Day. This is the look that I used this for my St. Patrick's Day look. So you can see I used this shade, this one, and this one. Every time I use this palette, I am shocked how much I like it. This is a very warm tone palette for me, and I prefer cool tones or neutrals, but yeah, I'm shocked. I'm sure I'll use more of like the warmer reds and oranges, more fall. But for now, I did use 5 shades. Next for Profusion, I have the Mauves palette. I had one of these shades in my Expand Those Pans. So I just went ahead and did no pan left behind on this while I had it out. Some shades were in February, some shades were in March. This mauve palette turns very warm on me, and this is also on my chopping block. I might declutter this, maybe. I have to be very picky with my eyeshadows these days. I don't know. And then the next palette is from Revolution. This is the Forever Dynamic Animal Magic. This is a cute little pastel palette, and I currently have it in my Throwback 30, so I easily hit no pan left behind in January. And I do have a pan here. I'm pretty sure I will be able to hit pan in at least this shade before I roll it out of, look at that dip. Look at this one too. They're very soft and powdery, but I just have a goal to use each shade 10 times in my project, and I haven't hit that yet, so I will still be using this, but I did hit no pan left behind very early in the year. Next are my Sydney Grace shimmer singles and my matte singles. I have them separate in my spreadsheet, but again, like I said, I have all of my singles mixed together by color now, so I will just, I'm sure I have a photo of them before I mix them up, so I will throw that on the screen, but I was able to use all of them, no pan left behind. I had them in a project for that goal, and so about half of them I used in February, and then the other remaining shadows I used in March. Second to last palette is my Sydney Grace and Tantalia collab. Is it a collab? On the Horizon palette, I have one of these shades in here in Pan Those eyeshadows, and I did create a look using this palette. I used these 4 shades and this shade. I also have this red matte all over my lid today and in my crease, but I have 8 shades remaining for that. And then the very last palette is my Unearthly Dreamer palette, and I really should have hit no pan left behind in this, but I'm missing 3 shades and 3 very easy shades. Well, this one, and this one. That one's not as easy, but gorgeous palette. I love every single look that I create with it. And yeah, hopefully I can hit no pan left behind on that before the next update. That is one easy one that I could just check off my list. So as a recap, in January, I was able to use 78 of my, no, okay. So as a recap, I started the year with, So as a recap, I currently have 657 individual eyeshadow pans in my collection, and I kind of divided it by 12 to see how many I needed to use each month to reach my no pan left behind goal. And each month I would have to use 54.75 in a month, so basically 54 every month, and then 1 month I would have to use 55. I think that's how it works. But in January I was able to use 78 shadows in my collection just through various looks. So I was well ahead of my goal in January. In February I was able to use 66 new shades from No Pan Left Behind. So that is again ahead of my goal. And in March I used 67 eyeshadows to contribute to No Pan Left Behind. So of course I used other eyeshadows multiple times, like Pan those eyeshadows, like my Pan That palette. So yeah, those numbers, I probably won't get to 78 again, to be honest, but those 3 months I have used 211 of my eyeshadows, and that is 32%. So I am ahead of the game. For my first quarter to be on par would be 25%. So I am at 32%. So I'm feeling very good. I wasn't sure about No Pan Left Behind this year because it just seems so daunting. I have over 600 eyeshadows and there's only 365 days in a year. But then you think, well, you use multiple eyeshadows in a look, but I don't do my makeup every single day. And like I said, you use the same eyeshadows over and over, especially if you're doing projects like me. So yeah, I wasn't really sure how this would go, but I'm very happy with my progress so far. I would appreciate any encouraging words down below, and of course give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and if you're not subscribed, I hope you do so before you leave. So I see you in my next one. Bye.